Hey guys, how's it going? Happy Friday. Just having a great day. Here with my daily update video with the camera shaking on the table. So I'm having a little cafe creme outside in the place here, and thought I'd share something real quick with you. Let me just change glasses here, but hey, a couple of things again. As always, if you're new to my YouTube channel, please hit the subscribe button down there. Check out the links below, including our online ministry school. Lots of good things there. Good. Let me share something with you. I was thinking about miracles today. Never thought much about miracles. You know, I know when I was younger, when I began in ministry in the mid-1980s, miracles were a really big thing to me. I love miracles. I love seeing them, love talking about them. And in a sense, I developed my faith for miracles. Let me come back to that in a minute. And again, I don't want anybody to mishear me. I think it's a really great thing to develop your faith for miracles. And yet, I just want to make a suggestion to you today and get you to think this thing through. I think miracles are not God's best. I've come to the conclusion that I don't always want miracles for my life. And here's what I mean by that. I want a life of miracles. I want to see the miraculous. I think God calls us to a life where we see the miraculous happen, if you will, nearly every day. But I don't want to have to need miracles for myself. And, you know, sometimes when I preach, literally, I have a list of stories, true stories, wonderful stories, glorious stories, things God did to do miracles for me. I mean, putting food on my table, letting me drive with no petrol, no gas in my car for hours, you know, miraculous connections, all of those kind of things. But if you think about it, a miracle requires a crisis. You know, in the Old Testament, God led the children of Israel out of the land of bondage and through the desert and then into the promised land. In the land of bondage, it was actually the enemy, if you will, the slave owners who provided their needs, but it was a horrible provision. It was a nasty provision. God led them into the promised land, but he led them through the desert, and the desert was a place of miracles. And sometimes I think God leads us in a place, like he led Israel, into a context where we have absolutely nothing to rely upon. And God wants to establish a testimony in our midst that he can come through for us, that when we have nothing else to rely on, God is there. That's a really wonderful and powerful thing. But it's interesting, you know, when they crossed over into the promised land, the miracles stopped. When they crossed into the promised land, you know, there's a place in the desert where they're asking Moses for meat, and Moses is like, it's like he's sitting there with paper and pen saying, what are you asking God to do? To ship in like hundreds of thousands of tons of beef, or not pork, but whatever. And how on earth could God do this? And God rained down flesh from heaven, birds, you know, the quails. He provided bread, the manna from heaven. He gave them clothes that would never wear out, clothes that the threads wouldn't run. They wore the same clothes for 40 years. But when they came into the promised land, all of the miracles stopped. God did miracles in the book of Joshua for the promised land, but it's interesting, the miracles, catch this guys, the miracles God did in the promised land were to advance the kingdom of Israel, not to supply the needs of the people of Israel. And what God did, God was a covenant-keeping God, and he said to the people of Israel, I want you to walk in my covenant, and I'm going to bless you. There's something better than living from crisis to miracle, crisis to miracle, crisis to miracle, and that's the blessing of God. Yeah, you know, I've shared a story at times when I once went to preach in Southampton in the 80s and didn't have enough gas to get home, ran out of gas around about London, and then, you know, I prayed and God told me to drive home by faith, and I drove all the way back to Cheshire in the northwest of the UK with no gas in my tank, my engine, my flashlight blinking empty all the way for 4 hours, 5 hours of driving, and that's a great miracle. But you know, there's something even better than having God putting supernatural gas in your car. That is being able to go to the gas station and being so blessed that you just swipe the card, especially with the prices these days, and be able to pay for the thing because you're living in the blessing of God. You know, it's wonderful when you're sick to get a miracle of healing, go to a healing service, go to a Benny Hinn service and get a wonderful. I'm not against that. I'm for that, not against that. And yet there's something actually better than healing. It's called health. There's something better than getting free from depression, and that's living in the joy of the Lord. And my point to you is God doesn't call us to a promised land per se, a geographical territory. He calls the Jewish people to a promised land. He calls us, the church, if you will, to a land of promises, 2 Corinthians 1 verse 20. But more than that, God wants us to not live by miracles, but live by every word that proceeds from the mouth of God. So God wants me to develop a life of faith where I'm constantly living by His word. And I'm believing that developing a faith over time that the things I need will be there today, and then be there tomorrow, and then be there the next day. That the health I need will be there. That all things pertaining to life and godliness will be there exactly when we need them. And my faith is in God and His word in a way, in a steady state place of faith, rather than plummeting from crisis to miracle, crisis to miracle. So if you need a miracle today, hey, drop me a comment. I'll pray for you. I'm believing we have a God of miracles, and at times we all need a miracle. But a miracle is to correct the normal sense of things. I would suggest to you that Jesus, I'm thinking it through, but Jesus hardly ever had a miracle for Himself. You know, He prayed for miracles for others. Occasionally, you know, He would, when He walked through the crowd, when they were going to throw Him off the edge, I guess you could say that was a miracle. In the garden, He said, you know, I can pray. My Father will send 12 legions of angels. But Jesus lived by faith in the promises of God. Selah. And I think we should do the same. So cheers. Guys, cheering you on today. Have a wonderful day. Looking forward to being back in the States next week, and just preparing a really great message there, and some of the events we have coming up in the rest of July. So see you back here soon. Check out some of the videos below. Again, hit that subscribe button and share this video if you will. Bye for now.